some evidence that we have a friend in here, some type of nesting material. Hey guys, it's Daniel's son. Welcome back to the channel, and as you can see, we got another Testarossa. As you guys know, we just finished a 1988 Testarossa in red. We did a major service. Now this one is a 1989, and as you guys know, it belongs to Hoovie. Now Hoovie wants me to do a few small things here and there, but the major job on this car is to remove the dashboard because all the leather has shrunk. Funny enough, I've never done a dash on a Testarossa, so this will be my first. I've done other interior components like the seat belts, seats, and even the rear panels and stuff like that, but I've never done a dash removal on a Testarossa, so this will be fun. So let's go ahead and get started. So now we're inside the car, and I've actually started to take like the seats out, the center console out, and stuff like that. You know, I can't always film. Wizard does allow me to film here, but I also don't want to take advantage. And when I gotta work, I gotta work. Can't really focus on filming. But yeah, I got the seats out, I got the center console out, and yeah, I'm starting to find some evidence that we have a friend in here. So I'm gonna bring the camera in so you guys can see. So you can see some exposed wires and some type of nesting material, some fibers or something, and then you know all this aftermarket stuff that we're probably gonna remove. So all the parts are back from the leather repair shop. Now Loans did an amazing job. He's actually retired, but he does help us out with a few projects here and there. But again, he always does an amazing job. Yeah, he did a lot of work. This took a while. I think it's been about 2 months roughly. I think it kind of got cold from last time I worked on this car, and there's probably a layer of dust all over the car. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put this dash back in. We got some wires to repair, and also we need to replace some sensors as well. So off camera, I was actually messing with the glove box. The reason I didn't record it is because it took me a long time to put that thing in there. Now the reason it took so long is because with the new leather, it's kind of wedged in there, and then the springs on the mirror, which I'll show you here right now, are not as strong, so it doesn't open like I want it to open. Now it's a lot better than when it was. So it'll open about that much, and then you can kind of help it a little bit, but that's because the springs on the mirror that open up the glove box are not as strong as they used to be, and now with the leather being new, it's just kind of tight in there. Now my guess is the more you use it, the more it'll wear out and stuff like that. Maybe you fill it up with some stuff in it, it'll be enough weight to kind of help it open all the way, but as of now, this is kind of where it is. Now you might think, why not replace the springs inside of the mirror? And the reason being is not even the leather guy wanted to take the leather off this, and you have to take the leather off the mirror and the mechanism back there, and he didn't want to do that, so we can't get to the springs, and obviously we can't really get those springs. You would have to buy a whole new glove box, which probably would have the same issue. So something else that I had to do off camera was actually reconstruct the harness for the radio. So whenever they did all that aftermarket stuff, the aftermarket radio, the aftermarket backup camera, and the radar, they had cut a lot of wires for the radio harness, and they kind of cut them way back so they can put all the stuff in there. Now I had to add a few new wires, and also just wire up the backup speakers, which I spoke to Hoovie. He wanted to keep them, so we went ahead and rewire those properly, just some quality wire this time. And yeah, and I went ahead and we installed a nice simple radio, nothing fancy, just a little cheap JBC from Amazon. It works great. It moves all 4 speakers. I had to rewire those as well. So those are the front speakers. Now the tweeters here are dead. Since these have tweeters and they sound good, we're gonna ignore these for now because they're a pain to replace and you can't get them. Now I did that entire harness before I even put the dash on, and it has some good length, so you can pull the radio out and work and all that stuff, so you don't have this short harness and you have to fight it and stuff like that. I put some nice length to it, so you're able to pull out the radio far out and work behind it if you ever needed to replace a fuse and stuff like that. The keys are in here to remove the radio, so it's very serviceable, which is a big thing for me whenever I do stuff like this. So this door right here didn't really open that well and close and stuff like that, so the leather shop actually repaired that. He just tightened the bolts there. I told him I was going to do it, but he took care of it, so I always appreciate something like that. And he did a pretty good job because this thing works great. We're going to go ahead and focus on putting the instrument cluster back in. So on the cluster, I had to fix a few things. The first thing was that they had put these aftermarket stickers on there, which I need to clean this up. I didn't think you could see them, but I'm going to go ahead and take that back out and clean that. But there was a couple of stickers there that basically said right sensor or right shifter. That was for the radar. I took those out. Obviously, it doesn't need them anymore. There's no lights there in the corner, so it doesn't really affect anything other than that nasty goo left over from the sticker, so I'm gonna have to clean that. Now back here I had to remove a set of speakers. They're tiny little wafer speakers that were for the radar. I took those off, those just popped off. And then right here, this is where the LEDs are for the that left and right shifter light, just kind of tell you what shifter is going off or whatever. I'm not quite sure how that system worked, obviously, because it never worked. And it's aftermarket, it's not original to the car. So over here I noticed that they actually tapped into these, they soldered and stuff like that on these, so I went ahead and put a nice crimp on there and some heat shrink over it so the wire's nice and protected. Did a little bit of cable organizing on some of these that were cut. They cut the zip ties, so the wires were all crazy. You know, I haven't done these because I want to fish them through the dashboard, so I haven't done these just yet. But some of these I could because it's just nice and skinny, so they shouldn't be a problem. Whenever you're working with a leather dash, especially on Ferraris, it's not as easy as just screwing it in. Sometimes you have to do a few adjustments. You have to loosen everything up, maybe raise the dash up, because what was happening is this piece right here, this fiberglass piece, was actually pushing against the leather on this top piece, because now it's a little bit thicker, because now we're using wood instead of that cheap plastic that it used to have. And you know, you got to be careful, because if I just go for it, it'll just peel it back, which we don't want that. Now it's ready for the instrument cluster. The main thing to be careful of is the shifter. Two there.
Okay, I found them.
Okay, careful with the shifter. That'll tear up the leather really easy. Okay, so on my side, I have to make sure that this thing goes through. Okay, slow down, Mama Gemma. Where are my nuts? So this right here is going to be the lower center of the dash where all the the other gauges are, and there's a clock right here. Now this one I had to repair a few things, nothing crazy, but one of them was they actually drilled into where these warning lights are. They drilled to put an LED in there. I didn't take it off because it looks worse with a hole in there, and I don't really have any way of fixing that other than replacing it. Now it's not a big deal to not replace it right now, maybe in the future, because it's easy to get from the back. It's not really that hard, so I'm really not gonna mess with it. So back here there wasn't much to do. There was a wire that was tapped into this one for the LED, so I decided to go ahead and take care of that. Just put a nice crimp on there with some heat shrink over it. So that's all good. Now this right here is the center console panel. Now there wasn't much to do. There was an LED there, so I decided to pull that off and put a little cap on there. Hopefully it doesn't look too terrible, but yeah, the LED just looked horrible, so I decided to just put a little black cap on there. Now there wasn't much to do here. The only thing was to make sure that everything back here was tight and clean and nothing was broken. I had to glue a few pieces that have been previously broken, but that wasn't too much of a hassle. It wasn't really a big deal, but I took care of all that. So this is pretty much ready to go, ready to be installed. So this right here is another piece that goes in the center console. This is actually where the seat belts feed into. Right behind this is where the reels are. Now this screw is really what holds everything on the center console. These outer screws are more to hold this metal tab on there. So I glued everything together, so that should be a lot better than before and shouldn't rattle. Okay guys, I'm gonna close up the video right here. We are done with this dashboard. Now right there where the parking handle is, there's like a lever, a latch that you kind of pull to open up the rear deck lid. That cable was fraying and I didn't really notice it before, and the more I messed with it, the more I broke it. So we went ahead and ordered a new one, so we gotta wait for that to show up. And I apologize for the noisy exhaust fans. It's because we have a lot of wind outside right now. Now, like I said, I gotta wait for that cable. As soon as that comes in, I'm just gonna throw that all back together, but that shouldn't take too long. Now, if you guys like this content, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share with anybody who might be interested. And as always, I will catch you on the next video.